Hello and welcome back to the Sports Sermon. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we are back today for more NFL previews. So now we're getting close to football season, and we're going to have to go by division now, actually, instead of our individual team previews, just to make sure we get everything done. But as you can tell today by the title, we are doing the NFC South Preview. So we're going to go through every team in the NFC South, talk about their offense and defense, give a ceiling and floor for their record this season, a record prediction, along with an MVP, a breakout, a bust, and a storyline to watch for. So we're going to start off with the defending champions of the NFC South and almost champions of the Super Bowl, Atlanta Falcons. Start off with last year with Jason. What do you have?
So, like you said, we know how the season ended last year. Let's not talk about it. 28-3. So, Vic Beasley was supposed to be a bust, but yeah, he led the league in sacks. I know that was the big thing with Beasley's a bust, all this, and he ended up having 15.5 sacks leading the league. Ryan played phenomenal. Devontae Freeman was an elite running back, and Julio Jones was a star. What's funny is all three of those guys were not supposed to be that good last year, so clearly we don't really know what we're talking about in the preseason. But if you really don't look at the last game, before that, the season was an A++ for the Falcons. Dan Quinn got their team to really gel, I think it was a few years early. And so I know the last game is what everyone remembers, and oh my gosh, they choked, but really they shouldn't have even been there. I think you give Devontae Freeman another year now. You give, what's his name? Deion Jones, sorry. Deion Jones another year now, as he was a breakout last year. Vic Beasley again. I think they've got a lot more pieces. In the offseason, they added Steve Sarkisian, Dontari Poe, Jack Crawford, Takaris McKinley, and Duke Riley. They lost Kyle Shanahan, their offensive coordinator, Dwight Freeney, and Patrick DeMarco. So, Dylan, what are your offensive and defensive thoughts on the Falcons?
So for the Falcons, obviously, quarterback Matt Ryan, MVP last year, and he'll be very solid again this year. At the running back, they've got the best 1-2 punch, in my opinion, with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Both guys catch the ball, run the ball very well. The wide receiver depth isn't that great, though. I'm not a huge fan of Mohamed Sanu. And if Julio goes down, they're going to struggle finding – Matt Ryan is going to struggle finding guys to throw the ball to. At tight end, Hooper and Toilolo, they're not great, but average tight ends. Hooper, a candidate for a breakout season this year, though. On the offensive line, they're really solid. The guard depth is kind of weak, but other than that, the two tackles on either side are really solid, along with the center, Jake Matthews and Ryan Schrader. Alex Mack in the middle. Those guys are going to form a solid offensive line this year. On the defensive side, the defensive line is really good. I like the Dontari Poe move at defensive tackle. It will really open up Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley to rush the passer a little bit more this year. After last year, 34 sacks, I think that'll increase even more this year. At linebacker, Deion Jones had a fantastic year last year. 108 tackles and 3 interceptions. This year, Devondre Campbell and Duke Riley will start at the other 2 linebacker positions. Very young, but we saw last year that the Falcons were able to put together a solid defense, even though those guys were, again, young. At cornerbacks, Desmond Trufant, Robert Alford, and Jalen Collins give 3 solid cornerbacks to the Falcons. Really good depth there. And at safety, 2 young guys in Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen, 2 solid young safeties. Overall, the Falcons, a really lethal offense, and if the defense can again put together a solid season despite being young, the Falcons will be right where they were at last year.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but we disagree on a few things, and I feel like you failed to mention the biggest part of their offensive change. Kyle Shanahan has left to go be the head coach of San Francisco, and Steve Sarkisian is in. I think that move right there will shape the season. I know some people are saying it's not a big deal, some people are saying it is a big deal. I'm one that believes it's a very big deal. This is why. Was it the system or the players? That's what's really to be determined. Like I said when I was talking about last year, Freeman was supposed to be a bust. Julio was supposed to be top 5, maybe top 10 receiver, and Matt Ryan was supposed to be You saw them excel when Shanahan let Ryan air it out. You had Freeman pass catch. You had Tevin Coleman, who came out more of a breakout guy than most people thought. So with all that being said, I still think Matt Ryan still has Julio, Devontae, Mohamed Sanu, Austin Hooper, all these good, solid weapons. If it's not the system, they should be at the top. But the real question is, was it the system or was it the players? And that's where I'm concerned on the offense. Defensively, they fired the defensive coordinator after the Super Bowl, so Marquand Manuel comes in as defensive coordinator. We already talked about Vic Beasley and how good he was last year. Deion Jones and him were probably co-breakout players for the Falcons. Now they're the anchors with Desmond Trufant and Takk McKinley to help this defense get back to stopping people. They were the 25th best offense, and something interesting I just wanted to point out. I was watching Good Morning Football either yesterday or today, and Nate Burleson said that he believes Desmond Trufant, if he was playing in the Super Bowl last year, it would have been a different outcome. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. But before we go to that, just real fast, I think Dan Quinn, he's known for his cover 3 defense, and I think in year 3 it's time to get his defense to take that next step.
I mean, they did. I think they did take the next step last year.
They were still the 25th best defense. I think there's still potential. Like I said earlier, I think they're 1 year early.
Yeah,
I think if Shanahan's there this year, they should be in the Super Bowl. I think we would have said that if they didn't make it last year. I guess what I'm saying. I think this, like last year, was a premature year. Now this is years when they should do it. If they had Shanahan, that's my only concern.
I just think the defense is just good all around. They're going to rush the passer even better than last year, and they were fantastic at that last year. Deion Jones in his second year now, even better. The other couple linebackers, not too sure about.
I love Duke Riley. I think he's going to ball out.
I mean, he is a rookie, though.
Yeah.
And at cornerbacks, they got 3 guys in Trufant, Alford, and Collins. Those guys are all going to be fantastic. And at safety, Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen, I just don't see any holes in this defense.
No, I agree. I think this defense is solid. Last year they didn't have Poe, they didn't have Riley, and I mean their defensive line wasn't that great last year. They were good, but they weren't great. I think their linebackers, Deion Jones, no one really expected that, and there's a hole there. I think Duke Riley's going to come in. That's what I'm saying. This year, I think they're good, but I think it's just interesting to think last year if Trufant played, would they have beaten the Patriots? That's what Burleson said. I just think that's like an interesting thing. I don't know. So, what do you think their record's going to be, and what's their ceiling, what's their floor?
I say anywhere from 12-4 to 9-7 if everything falls apart, but I like them at near the higher end of that at an 11-5 record. I do like the Falcons again this year, but the schedule is tough. If they were playing an AFC South schedule, for example, the AFC South, all of those 4 teams have the easiest schedule this year. They maybe get 12 or 13 wins, but they are playing in one of the toughest divisions in football. So I'll say 11-5 for the Falcons this year.
I have the exact same floor and ceiling. I have 12-4 and 9-7. The only way I see them going 9-7 is because they do have Carolina, Dallas, and Seattle back to back to back. That is a tough 3-game stretch. If they struggle during that, I think it's going to be a rough year. I think 9-7 is the worst. Ceiling 12-4. I have them at 10-6. And I just think that they're going to be tied for first in the NFC South. And we'll get into that in a second as we go through the other teams. Who's your MVP of the team?
Definitely Matt Ryan, the MVP of the league last year. He'll have another huge year, I think.
Yeah, I also have Matt Ryan. Okay, who's your breakout player?
I think Takk McKinley will have a great rookie year playing on the other side of Vic Beasley. And with Dontari Poe to clog up the middle, 2 other guys that will kind of shine and really take the attention off Takk McKinley. I think he has a huge year in his rookie year.
Yeah, my guy is Duke Riley. I think he is the guy that will, like you said, shore up the line. I think he's going to shore up the linebackers and really help anchor this defense. I think really he's just somebody that can be a leader, and between him and Deion Jones, they both coming out of LSU. I really like what the linebackers are going to do there. Who is your not bust, but your guy that people have higher expectations for that might not live up to him?
Yeah, I think Mohamed Sanu will underachieve this season. I think there's other weapons on this offense that will kind of break out around him. Taylor Gabriel, Julio Jones, and 2 running backs, and Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, who both catch the ball well. And at tight end, Austin Hooper is supposed to have a breakout season too. So, my bust will be Mohamed Sanu. I think he kind of gets forgotten about in this offense.
You mentioned Taylor Gabriel. Why do you like him so much?
I think last season, at the end of the season, he kind of came on. He's a speedy guy, somebody that the Falcons can use over the middle of the field. I think he'll be solid this season.
Okay, yeah, my bust is staying on the offensive end. I have it at Tevin Coleman. I just think, I maybe it's from a fantasy perspective. I just don't think he's going to be very valuable. I think he'll be a third down slash pass catching back at most. And I
At
just don't.
most.
Yeah, I think Freeman's going to be the workhorse of that, and he'll come in as a third down back or a pass catching back. But I mean, Freeman showed his hands.
At most. I think that's his floor.
No, there's no way. I don't think so.
No.
After seeing Devontae Freeman ball out last year, I would give him the offense and say run with it. I think Coleman will come in and be okay, but I just don't see the production there. Maybe in PPR, but as an NFL player, I just don't think he gets as much work as he did last year because Freeman balled out. I think we didn't expect that kind of year from Devontae. So Tevin Coleman, I think he's still going to have a good year, just I don't think he's going to live up to these expectations.
I mean, Tevin Coleman won the job his rookie year. He was going to be the running back over Devontae Freeman until he got hurt, and Devontae broke out, and he nearly won it again last year.
But he lost it. That's what I'm saying. I think Devontae separated himself. There is no comparison between Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. They're not close to being on the same level.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. You cannot tell me Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman are on the same level.
Tevin Coleman is pretty close. He's been hurt and doesn't have the same production.
You're telling me
obviously.
He's a top 10 running back. Devontae Freeman's a no doubt top 10 running back.
If Tevin Coleman got all the touches that Devontae Freeman did.
No way you can argue Tevin Coleman is a top 10 running back in the league. I don't think he's going to do it. What is your best storyline to watch out for?
The Falcons' revenge tour. Will they get revenge? Will they come out, play motivated to try to avenge that big Super Bowl loss, or will they fall apart under the pressure? I think that's what you have to watch out for the Falcons this season.
My storyline is, was it the system or was it the players? I mean, I don't know. I like Shanahan, but Matt Ryan didn't have a breakout year until Shanahan really opened up the offense. Hopefully Sarkisian can keep that going, but if not, I don't know. I'm worried about that, but I think it's going to be something to watch. They've got a few tough games early and a few tough games late. It'll be interesting to watch to see if it was the system or the players.
All right, let's move on to the Carolina Panthers, though. Rough season last year. Jason, what happened there?
So, the Carolina Panthers last year, Cam Newton and the whole team took a couple of steps backward in 2016. They suffered a career low, he suffered a career low in completion percentage as the Panthers went 6-10 after being 15-1 the year before. So definitely a disappointing year for the Panthers. They added Julius Peppers in free agency and then drafted Christian McCaffrey in round 1, Curtis Samuel in round 2, Taylor Moton in round 2, Deshaun Hall in round 3, and Corn Elder in round 5. Their losses were Sean McDermott, now a head coach, GM and assistant GM, safety Trey Boston, Ted Ginn Jr., and Philly Brown. So, Dylan, what are your thoughts on the offense and defense of the Carolina Panthers?
So, Cam Newton, the former MVP, he's still solid, and I think he has a bounce-back season this year. Stewart and McCaffrey make a really nice combo at running back, and a lot of wide receiver depth with Kelvin Benjamin, Devin Funchess, and Curtis Samuel, but someone has to step up and be the number one guy. Greg Olsen, again, very solid at tight end. The inside of the offensive line is solid with Norwell, Ryan Khalil, and Trey Turner, but the tackles are really going to struggle this year. Matt Khalil got a $55 million contract, and he's average at best at left tackle. And Darrell Williams on the right side, the number 45 tackle last year, according to Pro Football Focus. The two tackles are going to struggle, but the inside of the line is very good. Weapons around Cam now with McCaffrey and Samuel coming in. We'll have to see if Cam Newton lives up to the hype. On the defensive side, Star Latule and Kawan Short are good on the inside of the defensive line, but Julius Peppers and Charles Johnson are way past their primes rushing the passer. The linebacking trio is very solid. Luke Kuechly, Shaq Thompson, and Thomas Davis are one of the best linebacker trios in the league. Not much depth behind those guys, though. And at cornerback, I think it'll really be a struggle with Captain Munnerlyn, Bradbury, and Worley. Those guys at cornerback I don't think have a great season. So I see the Panthers. Oh, actually, Jason, give your offensive and defensive thoughts first, and we'll go into records.
So I think it's going to be a good year for the Panthers offense as a bounce back. Cam Newton is coming off rotator cuff surgery, so that's one thing. And they also lost Ted Ginn Jr., which I mentioned earlier, who is their deep threat. So what does that mean? Step in Christian McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel. This is going to be a perfect fit for that offense. Christian McCaffrey is going to be a baller as the running back. I think they're going to put Curtis Samuel out in the slot. They're going to dink and dump, but I know a lot of people are saying that he doesn't do that usually. But with this surgery, he's not going to be able to just rip it all over the place, especially because I don't see him being the type of guy that would wait for this injury to completely heal. I have a feeling he's going to try to do that too much. It's going to get sore, and as we get into the season, you have to dink, dump, go shorter, hit Greg Olsen, hit these running backs. So I think it's a major bounce back year for the Panthers. Kelvin Benjamin shed nearly 30 pounds this offseason. McCaffrey and Samuel are perfect for this system, and Greg Olsen is still one of the greatest tight ends in the league. So offensively, they've got everything going for them. Defensively, they still have Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, which is a pretty good start to have. Up front, you've got Julius Peppers, Kawan Short, and Charles Johnson, who are very good. You've also got Star Lotulelei. Linebacker-wise, they're phenomenal. I think Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis are got to be the top linebacking duo in the country. And then your secondary, that's where the issue comes. They have a lot of youth. They're quick, but somebody needs to step up, whether it's Bradbury or Worley, I think his name is. One of those two need to step up, and that was the issue last year when the GM let go of Norman, which is a terrible idea. That was what we saw happen last year. So, Dylan, what's your record and what's their ceiling and their floor?
I have anywhere from 11-5 to 7-9, but the Panthers have a tough schedule. I say 8-8 this year.
I like that. I have 11-5 to 8-8, and I have them at 9-7, 10-6. I went 10-6. I do think everybody besides the Saints split, and I think that everybody sweeps the Saints, but the Bucks. But the Panthers. I think the Panthers split with the Saints. So the Panthers will split with everybody. I think every other team will sweep the Saints and split with everyone else. So I think it's going to be a lot of knocking each other out. But I still have the Panthers at 10-6, and I just like what their offense is doing. I think it's a bounce back year. Who's your MVP for the Panthers?
I think obviously the former MVP Cam Newton going to be the guy for them this year as long as he doesn't throw too many picks.
My MVP is a combination of Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly. I think between those two, that's really who's going to star this team and carry them throughout. Don, your breakout?
It's got to be Curtis Samuel this year. I think he separates himself from Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess and competes for the wide receiver 1 job next year.
Yeah, my breakout, he might be my third or fourth favorite running back right now, Christian McCaffrey. I think he is going to have a heyday in Carolina, and I can't wait to see him get on that field. Dylan, your bust?
My bust has got to be the 2 defensive ends, Julius Peppers and Charles Johnson. Those guys are way past their primes now. The inside of the defensive line will help them out with Short and Star Lotulelei. I still can't say his name, but Peppers and Johnson are just way past their prime. I think they struggle this year.
I stayed on the offensive end. I went with Devin Funchess. I think he was supposed to come out of Michigan, be pretty good. I remember this first year we were both talking like, oh, we should definitely draft him because he's going to be so good. Like,
I don't think it's more of a good thing as it was. He was a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, and I just think, and then last year he got hurt, but he was supposed to be something, and now I think this is his year. If he's going to do it, it's got to be this year. I don't think he gets it done. I think Kelvin Benjamin, Greg Olsen, Christian McCaffrey, and Curtis Samuel take away his, and I think he does not have a good year this year.
Yeah, I'm not huge on Devin Funchess either. Those guys are going to way overshadow him.
All right, the one storyline to watch for this season.
Will Cam Newton bounce back to his MVP form? The Panthers shedded 9 wins off their win total from 2015 to 2016. And Cam Newton really struggled. 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Will he come back and lead the Panthers to another winning record? Or will they struggle again this season?
I mean, what do you think? Do you think he'll be in the MVP conversation?
No.
No?
No.
Like, not at all?
Not really. I mean, maybe like that 10th guy down there, but not. But I don't see the Panthers really doing too much this year. I said 8-8.
Yeah.
So I don't think an 8-8 record is enough to put him in the MVP conversation.
Okay. My best storyline to watch out for is, will Cam Newton make it all 16 games? Did he rush back the injury? I think you'll know by week 7 or 8 if he's still able to go. I'm concerned about him rushing back because you know Cam, the play, just want to go out and have fun type guy. That's the only question is, will he play all 16 games? And if so, I mean, it's hard to doubt this team.
Yeah, Cam Newton does it all on his own. If he plays all 16 and plays as well as he did in 2015, there's no reason the Panthers are going to have a losing record. I'm just kind of doubting that Cam Newton will be able to return to his MVP form a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Well, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A solid season last year. Jason, what did they do?
So 2016, like you said, solid season, 9-7, second in the NFC South. Their significant additions this year were Deshaun Jackson in free agency, O.J. Howard in round 1, Justin Evans safety round 2, wide receiver Chris Godwin in round 3, and Jeremy McNichols in round 5. Significant losses, really, it's only Mike Glennon, and it wasn't like he's that significant. He was just a backup. So, Dylan, what do you think about the offense and defense?
So on the offensive side, Jameis Winston is solid. I think he'll take the next step and be even better this year. At running back, Doug Martin is suspended for the first 4 games, but Charles Sims and Jacquizz Rodgers will step in. I don't know how good they'll be for the first 4 weeks. At wide receiver, Djax and Mike Evans are going to be really good this season. I think they'll complement each other well. They did draft Chris Godwin to be the third guy after them, but not much after Godwin on this depth chart for the wide receivers. At tight end, though, 2 solid guys in Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard, one of the best tight end duos in the league. The offensive line will struggle a bit, though. Plenty of weapons for Jameis to throw it to. We'll see if he's able to step up with some new guys to throw the ball to. On the defensive side, Gerald McCoy will be good at the defensive tackle. Chris Baker will be solid. There's some depth, but not a lot of stars at the defensive end. At linebacker, Quan Alexander and Levante David are really good, but not a lot of guys besides those 2. Brent Grimes comes in at cornerback. I think it's a really good move for on the field, at least. We know everything about what happened off the field with his wife and everything and trying to get out of the Dolphins. That whole thing was a mess, but the Bucs got a deal bringing in Brent Grimes. He'll help out Vernon Hargreaves and Josh Robinson. I think will struggle at the third cornerback. There's some good safety depth, but again, no really star there. What do you think about the Bucs, Jason?
I love the Bucs offense this year. Mike Evans had the most targets in the NFL last year, and I think that's mainly because nobody could tell you who the second receiver in Tampa was. Do you know who it was?
I don't remember.
Adam Humphries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just these low names. And so now they bring in Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate's improving. This Bucs offense should be lights out. There are 2 concerns I have with it, though. You mentioned it. Doug Martin's on a 4-game suspension. The running game, Coach Dirk Cutter said it's going to be committee until he comes back, but he's not guaranteed the starting job when he comes back. So I think everyone between Jacquizz Rodgers, Doug Martin, and Charles Sims all have the chance to be the starting back week 4 when he comes back. And my only concern is Jameis's turnovers. If he can limit those, he's had 42 turnovers in his first 2 years, 33 picks, 9 fumbles. If he can limit those down to, I'd say 10, I think would be. What do you think? How many turnovers do you think he's got to get it down to? I feel like 10's too much to ask for. 13?
I'd say he's got to stay under 12.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. I just know that's his biggest thing is his turnovers. But I think with more options, he'll be better. Defensively, they're really hoping Noah Spence can step up to help out Gerald McCoy. The secondary is very depleted. Dylan, you talked about Brent Grimes. He's 34 now. Vernon Hargreaves had a good second half of the season, but he really only came up with 1 pick last year. And J.J. Wilcox and Chris Conte are good at the safety spot, but need more depth. I have them pretty optimistic as my record. I have them at 10-6. I think their ceiling's 10-6. I think their floor is 7-9, just if they're a year too early. But I love what the Bucs are doing. I love me some Jameis. I have them at 10-6.
If you're looking at this schedule,
yeah,
the first 3 games,
easy.
Miami, Chicago, Minnesota. I think they
2
get
and 1.
all 3 of those.
Okay, 3.
But then the next 3, New York, Giants, New England, and Arizona. Yeah. I think they dropped a 3-3 after that.
You think they drop all 3 of those? They're home for the Giants.
No, I don't.
I would switch. I think the Bucs would lose first game at Miami, but I think they'll beat the Giants. So either way, they're 3-3.
Yeah, I say 3-3 after that.
Yeah,
at Buffalo,
but then a dub. I think they beat Carolina.
Yeah, home versus
I think
Carolina.
they sweep the. I think they sweep the Saints, beat the Jets. I think
But then Falcons and Green Bay in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, they lose both of those. Then they lose both of those. I have Detroit and Atlanta them winning both because I would split it. And then I have them losing to Carolina and beating New Orleans.
So I think 9 or 10 wins for the Bucs this year.
Yeah, that's why I have them at 10-6.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, MVP. I'll go mine first. Mine's Jameis Winston. He's my second favorite quarterback in the league after my team's Derek Carr. I love Jameis Winston. I've liked him since he was in Florida State. I just really like what he's done, and he's just a baller. Like there's no other way to say it.
Well, Jason likes Florida State. That's a surprise.
I'm not a Florida State fan. I'm just rooting for their football team this year. If you want to know what we're talking about, go check out the College Football Playoff episode. It's all about Seminoles, Alabama, a lot of good stuff.
All right. I mean, I don't think there's much of a discussion about the MVP, though. It's definitely Jameis. I mean, he has some more weapons to throw to now. He needs to step up, and I think he'll get the job done.
Yeah, I think Jameis is by far the MVP. The only one that's an argument, though, I think is Mike Evans. You don't think there's an argument there?
If Winston's bad and throws it to Mike Evans a lot and he makes some crazy catches, maybe, but okay. I still see Jameis with more weapons this year.
Okay. Who's your breakout?
I say Vernon Hargreaves this year. Brent Grimes at the other cornerback position takes the load off a little bit, and Hargreaves in his second year, I think, comes out and does a lot better.
All right, my breakout, I have two, but I just have the entire Bucs offense I think is going to break out, but my real breakout is Chris Godwin. They've been having rave reviews out of Tampa Bay about how much of a connection Jameis and Godwin have. I think he could be a money slot receiver for the Bucs. My bust, I have O.J. Howard. Not that I don't think he's going to actually bust. I just think he's not going to live up to that production that everyone's talking about him having.
Do you think with Godwin, though, I think there's 4 guys that James is going to throw the ball to more before Godwin.
I mean, yeah, if I looked at their roster, I wouldn't say, oh, Godwin. But I've been hearing out of Tampa Bay that Jameis loves Godwin. He's been running his routes really crisp, and he just seems like he's gelling well with Jameis. I mean, that's a big thing. If you have chemistry with your quarterback, you're going to get the ball. That's how Mike Evans and Jameis became so successful together.
All right, we'll see, but I think there's just
Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans. I don't know.
I think he's gonna struggle to get targets in this offense, but I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I'm just saying he'll struggle to get targets.
I wouldn't call him a fantasy breakout. I think he's a breakout NFL player. You know what I mean?
Okay. My bust, I agree. O.J. Howard. I think a lot of expectations. Rookie tight end. Usually doesn't do a lot. Cameron Brate also at the tight end position had a good year last year. I think O.J. Howard is my bust too.
All right, the best storyline to watch out for this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Will Jameis live up to the expectation and take the next step with all of his new weapons out there? Deshaun Jackson and O.J. Howard, the 2 big ones on the offensive side. 2 great targets for Jameis to throw the ball to. With all these new guys, will he take the next step and lead the Bucs to the playoffs?
Mine. Are they going to be the Warriors of football? Are they going to build through the draft and just build
the Warriors of football?
I'm telling you, they're going to have. I think by next year they'll have a solid player at every position where they will be unstoppable in the offense. I think their offense is the Warriors of the NFL. That's the storyline to watch out for.
I completely disagree. Not that the Bucs are bad or anything. But the Warriors of football, the offensive line is going to struggle, and they'll struggle again next year. They don't have a star on the defense. A few solid players.
I said offense. I said their offense.
Just their
Warriors.
offense?
Yeah.
I mean, then they're not the Warriors of
defense. I said, is the Bucs offense the Warriors of football, just in general?
Deshaun Jackson's going to be 31 next year.
He's the Klay Thompson. You got Kevin Durant as your Mike Evans.
Doug Martin.
You got Steph Curry as your quarterback with Jameis.
Oh, my goodness.
And you got Draymond Green as Doug Martin.
Doug Martin is the most inconsistent player.
But when he's on, this is his off year. I'm telling you.
This is his good year. Last year.
Then there you go. This is his on year. There you go.
But this year, he's not. No.
I'm telling you.
Warriors of football.
Yes, their offense.
Oh,
you can't argue it. Klay and Deshaun, Kevin Durant and Mike Evans, Steph Curry and Jameis, Doug Martin and Draymond Green. There you go.
Not even close. Let's move on to the Saints, though. What happened for them last year?
Last year, they went 7-9, finished third in the NFC South. They added this offseason Ted Ginn Jr. in free agency, Adrian Peterson in free agency, guard Larry Warford in free agency, A.J. Klein, Manti Te'o, Chase Daniel, all in free agency. They were big buyers. In the draft, they got Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, Alex Anzalone, and Trey Hendrickson. They lost wide receiver Brandon Cooks, Jarius Byrd, Tim Lolito, John Jenks, and Tim Hightower. So, Dylan, what do you think about the offense and the defense?
On the offensive side, again, Drew Brees coming back. He'll be very good again this year. The running backs, they brought in a couple new guys, in Adrian Peterson and Alvin Kamara. A lot of depth, along with Mark Ingram. They also brought in John Kuhn, though, from the Packers, a fullback. Does that mean they're going to run the ball more? I think it does. I think Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram split touches there, and the Saints start to run the ball a lot more. A lot of wide receiver depth, but they do lose Brandon Cooks. I think they'll struggle a little bit to catch the ball. Coby Fleener needs a bounce-back year after a terrible last year in his first year with the Saints. There's no star on the offensive line, but plenty of depth and solid players to go around there. On the defensive side, the defensive line will struggle besides Cameron Jordan a lot. The linebackers are very bad. The secondary isn't looking too bad, though. Marshawn Lattimore and Delvin Breaux, I think, form a decent cornerback duo, and at safety, Von Bell and Kenny Vaccaro are pretty solid. What do you think, Jason?
Drew Brees is going to be phenomenal. He always is. And you look at the running backs, you've got Adrian Peterson, Mark Ingram, and Alvin Kamara, a three-headed monster there. I like all three. Wide receivers, you've got Michael Thomas, Willie Snead, and Ted Ginn. Good compliments for Drew Brees. You need one more star, I think, just to help fill that offense out. And then tight end Coby Fleener really lacks that star at the tight end like Jimmy Graham, but I think he's good enough. Defensively, Cameron Jordan and Sheldon Rankins will anchor the front line, but they need more production. They were just fine last year. This offseason, improving the linebacker corps was definitely an offseason focus. The Saints desperately need Donnell Ellerbe to have an injury-free season, and they signed Manti Te'o, A.J. Klein. They still have Craig Robertson. They're all going to compete for the starting job in the middle. In the secondary, safety Kenny Vaccaro is a jack of all trades, and Dennis Allen has shown he likes to use them all over the field. They still have Von Bell, who's now in his second year, who struggled in coverage a lot, but he should be much improved. And he and Vaccaro are sure tacklers, but rookie Marcus Williams and veteran Rafael Bush will factor into Allen's three-safety look in sub-packages. Williams has the playmaking potential the Saints have lacked in recent years, so I think the defense is on the up and up. Dylan, what do you think their ceiling and floor is, and what's their record?
I can't get behind this defense, but their offense could possibly carry them to 9 wins. But if everything falls apart, I think 5-11. I have them at 6-10, though. I'm not a big fan of the Saints this season.
Wow, I have my floor at 6-10, and my ceiling at 9-7. I think they'll go 8-8, be average, and I don't know. Like you said, I can't get on the defense. Who's your breakout player this year?
My breakout is going to be Coby Fleener. I think he has a bounce-back season. The Saints need more guys to throw the ball to with losing Brandon Cooks. I think Fleener gets some more targets and has a solid season.
All right, my breakout's Willie Snead. I think he's going to be the solid number 2, and we've seen the number 2s be successful in recent years. I think Willie Snead's going to be that guy this year for the Saints. Who's your bust?
My bust is going to be Adrian Peterson. That's more of an expectations thing, and that he won't get a ton of carries in this offense. The Saints love to throw the ball a lot, although I think they'll run it more. They're still going to pass the ball a solid amount. Adrian Peterson's not going to get as many carries as he did in Minnesota. I think he doesn't have a season where you're expecting him to get 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns easily. Not even close to that this year.
What is your prediction for Adrian Peterson? I also am as my bust. I'm just curious.
I would say 600 yards and 7 touchdowns maybe.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, mine's also Adrian Peterson, just because the expectations that everyone has for him. I don't think he's the same AP. What is your best storyline to watch out for?
Can Drew Brees get this team back to playoff form, and can the defense do anything at all? Will the Saints be able to make it back to the playoffs? Will the defense take the next step? Really, can the Saints become relevant again?
Yeah, my storyline is, what was AP brought here to do? Was he here to be the workhorse? Was he here to be a third down back? What is he here to do? They drafted Alvin Kamara, someone I'm a big fan of. They still have Mark Ingram, who had a good year last year. I don't know what AP was here to do. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll find that out this season. I think that's all we got today for our NFC South episode. I think I had the Falcons winning.
I have a three-way tie between the Falcons, Panthers, and Bucks, all at 10-6, and they all split. So I think it comes down to a tiebreaker. I think the Falcons come in first because they swept the Saints. I think the Falcons end up being the first seed. They get into the playoffs. I think the Bucks are the second seed as a wild card, and I think the Panthers fall out because they did not sweep the Saints, which drops the Panthers at 10-6 out of the playoffs.
You're pretty high on this division. Overall.
I am. I think this will be the most competitive division in football this year.
I think it's a solid division, but there's just no way there's enough wins to go around.
Do you see a more competitive division? Only thing I can see is NFC East.
Actually, yeah, I do like the NFC East a little bit more. I mean, the Cowboys,
More?
everyone says they're going to be worse.
Yeah, the Cowboys will be good.
They'll be
Eagles and Giants.
I think those three will be better than the Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks.
Really? Okay. See, I disagree. I don't think the Eagles will be that good. I think the Giants will be fine. I think the Cowboys will be good. I think this will be the most. Because I think the Saints are better than the Redskins. Where from top to bottom, I think it's gonna be a more competitive division.
I just don't see how 38 wins can go around to 4 teams in one division. I think that's going to be really tough to accomplish, especially since these guys
they're taking the Seahawks and the Packers. I think all of them take the Seahawks
and the Patriots. I think too.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a tough schedule. I really think Jameis will take the next step. Cam will bounce back, and Matt Ryan's gonna play like he did last year. I think it's gonna be a fun year for the NFC South. So coming up, we've got the NFC West tomorrow, and then we're gonna go. We've got the NFC East to cover. We've got the NFC North, and the last AFC one, my Raiders in the AFC West. That was the most competitive division in football last year. Will they do it again? It's all coming up here on the Sports Sermon.
Yeah, make sure if you want to see all that, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to follow us on Twitter too. The link is in the description for that. Vote in our polls that we have every single day. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys with more football coverage tomorrow.